Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another Chip Tech News episode. Today we're going to go through all the transfer news so far for the 2017 cycling season. Now, obviously there's a lot of it, so it's not all going to be in this one episode, but stay tuned, there will be multiple parts to the series. Today we're going to look at a few of the biggest ones, in my opinion, and some of the most interesting. Now, firstly, Vincenzo Nibali going to the Bahrain project for 2017. Now, this is interesting on a few levels. Firstly, Bahrain project isn't a UCI team at the moment, and we don't know that much about it. And secondly, he's the reigning Giro d'Italia champion. He's won lots of stuff, so is that going to affect them getting a UCI World Tour license? There's two up for grabs, the IAM one and the Tinkoff one, and there's a few other teams who are a bit sceptical for next year whether they're going to hold their license. Now, all we really know about this Bahrain project is that they will be riding Merida bikes, and the second thing is there's only 3 riders announced: Nibali, Visconti from Movistar, and Manuel Boaro from Tinkoff. Only 3 riders I could find. Now, those 3 riders are class World Tour riders, so you could build a team around those 3, but obviously racing World Tour, there's lots of races in the calendar, you need lots of riders riding for you. Now, I guess one of the things that this Bahrain project has going for it are there are a lot of riders out of contract for 2017, and so there's lots of opportunity to pick up a few decent domestiques and riders to help you out. The team seems to have a fair bit of cash around, so I assume that wouldn't be an issue. Second transfer we're going to talk about, Peter Sagan going to Bora Hansgrohe. I'm not sure if that's how you say it. If you're German, comment below how it's pronounced. I've got no idea. Now, this is pretty cool. He's current world champion and all around cool dude. Currently racing mountain bike at the Olympics for his country rather than the road race. Smart option, we'll find out after he competes. Currently, Bora is a pro-continental squad, but once again there's a few World Tour spots opening up, and with the signing of Sagan, plus they've basically signed half of the Tinkoff team, I would say they are in with probably the strongest shout for a World Tour license in 2017. Now, what do we know about the team for 2017? They will be riding Specialized bikes. They recently signed on with Specialized. Astana are now riding Argon 18 bikes, so they basically just switched sponsors. And another thing for Sagan moving to this team, they don't really have a decent GC rider. So without a GC rider, Sagan basically has a team to himself, which will maybe see it go back to like the Liquigas days for him, where he had a few more riders solely there for him versus sharing the team with Alberto Contador. Now, the third transfer, and this is a weird one for me to get my head around. I don't know why it's happened, don't know what's going on. Tony Martin moving to Team Katusha for 2017. Now, Tony Martin has been at Edix Quickstep for a fair few years now. Before that, he was with the HTC squad. So those 2 teams, when HTC split up, a fair few of them went to Edix, and so he's been around that sort of group of guys for a long time now. And Katusha haven't been the most successful team. Like, they've got Alexander Kristoff, and GC wise they signed Vandenbroek last year, but he's probably a few years past his best. So what does this mean for Tony Martin? Possibly a Classics career. Now, we saw briefly last year what Martin could do in the Classics with appearances at Paris-Roubaix. I'm not sure where else he rode, but in those races he was strong. He was used as a workhorse mainly, just sitting on the front, but he was still there late in the race in an alright position. So give him a team based around himself, and who knows what could happen. As most of you probably know, he won that Paris-Roubaix stage of the Tour de France a few years ago, held the yellow and then crashed out with the yellow on him. And who knows, maybe Tony Martin just needed a bit of a shake-up. His TT results have been lacking a bit recently compared to other riders, so who knows. But I wish Tony all the best in 2017. Now, this is an interesting one for the Australians. Orica Greenedge signing Roman Kreuziger. Now, he's an older sort of rider, but I think it's hard to dismiss his class. Like, the guy is a great rider. This year at the Tour, he finished 10th, I believe. And so, give one of the Yates boys or Esteban Chavez that extra bit of climbing help in the high mountains, I'm all for it. Greenedge had been lacking a bit in domestiques. They've been sort of using guys who probably weren't the same calibre as your Geraint Thomas, who's a super domestique to Chris Froome. Whereas I put Roman Kreuziger in that sort of class as the same as those sort of guys. So I believe it's going to help Greenedge with their GC ambitions. They seem to be reforming their team around a bit more of a GC aimed squad. So yeah, I think it's a great signing for them. Also in the classics, like he's won Amstel Gold before from a breakaway. So the guy's got class. This leads me on to the next signing, which was Michael Matthews from Orica Greenedge going to Giant Alpecin. Now, Giant Alpecin had lost their sprinter, which made room for this. Now, Michael Matthews moving to Giant Alpecin, I believe, was due to probably two reasons. Firstly, Greenedge's whole reshuffle with becoming a bit more of a GC ambition team. And secondly, I don't think it's ever been said, but I personally believe that there's a bit of, how would you put it? I don't think Gerrans and Matthews get along the best due to Greenedge trying to run both of them as leaders for races where I believe Matthews stands a much better chance. I think this was probably best shown at, for example, like the Ardennes Classics this year. They had dual leadership. Matthews had an opportunity to win a race but just needed a bit of help from a teammate, and you had Gerrans riding alongside him, fighting him for a sprint. Not actually fighting him, but like sprinting against him. So I believe Matthews wants success, and the best way to do that is go to a squad where he's the sole leader, like Giant Alpecin. They're a very strong team. They've got Tom Dumoulin as a GC hopeful, but they've always been strong in the sprints with Degenkolb and Kittel a few years ago. So I think it's a good move for Matthews. I don't think that sticking around at Greenedge was possibly the best move for him if they were going to keep giving Gerrans leadership roles, and also with Caleb Ewan coming through, I believe Ewan will be their key sprinter in a year or two. Now this leads me to the last one for this episode, and that is John Degenkolb and Cohen de Court moving from Giant Alpecin to Trek Segafredo. Trek have got sprinters, they've got Nizzolo and Bonifacio, but they're not really that calibre of top guy. And Degenkolb, I would say, is more of a classics rider. So with Fabian leaving at the end of 2016, they don't really have anyone. They've got a strong classics squad, but no one really of that calibre who can win. Degenkolb proven winning at Paris-Roubaix, so good signing for them. Bringing Cohen de Court along. Cohen's a great guy, top bloke. He comes here to Australia for a bit and does the Noosa crit, so that's maybe why I'm a bit more biased to him. But no, he's a great rider, good domestique. So Trek boosting their classic squad with the departure of one of the sport's greatest classics riders. Alright guys, that is all we've got time for in this episode. I will be making more of these. I've got a whole list of the transfers to go through. There's some other big ones that I've missed covering, so yeah, just stick around and there'll be more episodes like this. If you enjoyed it, please leave a thumbs up down below. Comment with anything you might not agree with or you do agree with that I've said. And don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date with what I'm doing. Thanks, guys.